Listen, what's up guys? Today on this video we're going to be talking about Where I'm Bound by Alan B. Ballard and how much of a grippingly fast and engaging read this book is. Okay, so shh. I don't know why I say shh, just come on. What is up guys, it's me Troy and I'm here again with another video. Thank y'all so much for sticking around and joining me on this journey. So today we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be sharing a little highlight of my reading of Where I'm Bound. I just finished this book maybe about, I think like an hour ago, but anyway, I ended up picking this book up at my public library. I picked up this book. It wasn't on my wish list, but I picked up this book and two other books. And I was just about to walk out the door and be like, you know what? I'm not going to pick up any books. I'm going to go ahead and, you know, in the spirit of Read So Lit, I was like, I'm going to go home and read the books I already got at home to, you know, continue forward with the Read So Lit, you know, hashtag and reading month, which is, of course, all year round. Like, let's be real, year round. But I'm glad that I fell into my second thought and ended up bringing the books home because I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. You know, on Goodreads, you can't do half stars, but so I just left it at 3. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and tell you guys what this book is about. So, when Duckett escapes his life of bondage to become a cavalry scout, he grows to be more than a free man. He becomes a hero. Duckett and his hard-riding regiment roam the Mississippi Delta, freeing slaves and keeping vital waterways open for the Union. As the war approaches its final tragic days, Duckett embarks on his most dangerous mission yet, to return to the plantation from which he escaped in order to reunite with his daughter and wife. More than just an account of the Civil War, Where I'm Bound is an affecting portrayal of the psychological effects of war. That's kind of reaching, but I'm going to keep going. Through the character of Duckett, some of the war's greatest tragedies are painfully evoked. The agonizing separation from the family, the horrendous mission of having to kill another man, which he didn't have no problem doing really, and the cruelty, I'm putting everything in between here, and the cruelty and moral corruption that occur when men's passions are their greatest weapons against one another. This story of one man's ability to meet such overwhelming challenges brings to life the noble fight for freedom as displayed by the African American soldiers, as well as the effects of that fight on an entire country and culture. Alright, so like I said, I gave this book about 3.5 stars. So first let's get into some of the bigger points here, because this book, although the primary story is that of the ex-slave Joe Duckett, there are a number of other story threads that are given about. So with Joe Duckett, at the beginning of the novel, he and his companion, another slave named Zach, are inside of this Confederate camp. And, you know, of course, they're like the hands, you know, they're the ones who's frying the bacon, they're handing whiskey down to those old messy ass Confederate soldiers who, okay, shut up, Joy. And then, you know, saddling the horses, that sort of thing. But anyway, at the beginning of the novel, Joe and his companion, through a very sneaky and violent means, they end up escaping the Confederate camp and falling into the Union camp. And it's within the Union camp that they become a part of the 3rd United States Colored Cavalry, with some pretty high positions here, because one of the things that is immediately recognized about Joe is that he's a leader, and he's given this sort of task to scout out the area. So, you know, during the dead of night, they use him to move forward, to sneak between rebel camps and Confederate camps and that sort of thing, to see exactly what is the Union's position within the war. You know, what is their next strategy? What is their next move? So they use him to do that. And he is given the moniker of the Wizard. A lot of his sort of belief is putting a lot of emphasis on the fact that he's like a quarter Indian, so that gives him the ability to really connect with like the environment in the ground. You know, you read the book and you'll know what I'm talking about. So while that is the primary story, and it is a story of Joe fighting in the colored cavalry with the Union soldiers, as a leader, and also, you know, him trying to get back to the plantation in which he left his wife and daughter. Another thread of storytelling within the book actually follows his wife Zenobia. Oh my god, and I loved her story. So Zenobia is still on the plantation. You know, we're looking toward the tail end of the Civil War. You know, Union soldiers, rebels, what they call them, gray pants, I think, gray baggers. I forgot what they call those guys. But anyway, these are the guys that are in between still messy as hell and ruthless, but whatever. But anyway, the point is that there's a lot of destructions around, and the slave owners, they're in this contemplative place of, are we going to stand? Are we going to fall? We're running out of money. Nobody's working. Freedom is vastly approaching. It's a really stressful period. I don't think I can describe it as far as what we already know at this point in life and history. But the point is that Zenobia is on this plantation with her best friend, another slave who is very much has eyes for her, an older man. She has her adopted son, and then she has her daughter. Now, Zenobia, she knows that their time is pretty much up. She's already had her two eldest kids, who are teenagers, sold off to the master's sister's house, as well as Joe's sister Pauline was sold to that house as well. But Zenobia understands that they cannot sit still. She cannot have her family sitting still here when there's a number of slaves who are being trooped off by the rebel soldiers, the Confederate soldiers, and to God knows where. Many of them being put into camps to work, many of them being murdered. But Zenobia, she understands that right now she has to make some moves to get her and her family off of this plantation, because the mistress of the house is, like I've always stated, they're pretty much high-strung and would do anything in their whole crazy fashion. But that is where Zenobia's story takes place, is where she is pursuing freedom to connect with a Union Army herself, much like her husband. And then there's a really interesting thread, which I would consider the third thread, where it's following the story of the master of the plantation that Joe and his wife Zenobia are from. And he has become a colonel within the Confederate Army. He is in love with Joe's sister, Pauline, who is one of the slaves that was sold to his sister. So while he's in this struggle of trying to not only find Joe and murder him, because he's always been jealous of Joe all of his life, because they've always had like this kind of rivalry, but he wants to end this war as quickly as possible so that he can get back to his love of Pauline, and he'll do anything to pretty much get there. Those are the three primary threads. There are a couple of smaller ones in between, like one that follows the master's wife and Sue, and she's just crazy. But like I said, with all three of those threads juggling and running this story, it won't let go. It was really a gripping read. I would even say I would just go ahead and say just a fast-paced, thrilling read. And that's kind of the plus and the minus, because I think that if, with this being a historical fiction novel, and some of the characters actually based off actual people in history, if you were to read this book, you're not going to get a lot of detail. As it regards, like history and anecdotes and things like that. I mean, well, the anecdotes are there, but you're not going to get a lot of detail. The author doesn't spend time, re-illustrating history to the reader. So with that said, this is kind of the plus and the minus of this book. So like I said, okay, you have these three different threads going at the same time. And I'm telling you, this book is very clip, okay? It's go, 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 go. It's literally like, this is the space. We're in the middle of it's like this, this is the space. We're in the middle of a damn war. Go, 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 go. So with that said, it's a fast-paced read. I mean, you're going to get your history anecdotes in there, but the author doesn't slow down the pace of the story to give us paragraphs of the exposition, re-illustrating history, re-illustrating the backdrop of the Civil War. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't take the time to do that. It really is a fast-paced read. It really is a drop you, the reader, the characters in the middle of this damn war, and see who the hell comes out alive and surviving. So that's kind of a plus and a minus. And I thought that I was going to have a problem with that, because I love details in books, and I'm thinking, okay, well, shit, we already moving. We're moving quick. Like I said, he's delivering the little anecdotes or antecedents or whatever of history as we're going forward, but he doesn't take the time to assume that the reader doesn't know, what this war meant, what was the history of this war, what was the time, places, the settings, the locations, the titles of the battles. Although he give them to you, he doesn't teach it to the reader, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things I really enjoy, because I thought that I was going to have a problem with that, because I love, like I said, I love my details, but the book is just, it moves so damn fast that you, the reader, you don't even have time to even worry about it. Like, you're ready to get on to the next scene and understand what's happening. And like with any author, once you get comfortable with their writing style or something, and you know, like after a certain amount of pages, you know you're going to finish reading the book, then you'll pretty much be good to go. So that, like I said, like some people may see that as a negative, some as a positive, but to me it was kind of refreshing. It really was. The book was not bogged down with history, and that was a major plus for me. Because on the flip side, you get a lot of movement with the characters. Now here's the thing: when it comes to Joe's particular story, he was a kind of complicated character, because when he got to drinking, he made a lot of kind of silly decisions. Although he was a very smart and intelligent character. But I will say this, that I did get kind of weary of the battle scenes toward the end of the book. I mean, a lot of the battle scenes were, based on real, actual battles, but of course elaborated on and exaggerated. But child, after a while, I was like, oh my, it's like, here we go, we got another battle. So Joe's story was a lot about battle. It was a lot of that in there for him. And, it was great. But let me tell you something, and I'm going to be completely honest. The winning story was Zenobia's story. How Zenobia got her ass out of that plantation in time before the Confederate soldiers came to collect those slaves, because she was being sold off by the mistress who couldn't afford to keep them. Zenobia's story was the business. And I like that because she had to use the resources of her mind to get free, her mind and her body. She didn't have all the tools that like Joe had, which, their circumstances was different. But honey, I always raise up for my sisters that be, when they be in these books taking hold, I'm always raising up like, yes, girl, do it. But Zenobia's story was really the key to this whole book to me. Especially considering the fact that she had to take these children along with her. And she faced a lot of different obstacles along the way. We're talking, she's on the road in a wagon with the children, and she has to talk her way out of situations involving some of the patrolmen. She has to get a raft going so that she can sail down the Mississippi River. At one point in the book, she actually hitched the raft to a ship, a passing steamer filled with Union soldiers, and then that didn't go well, so she had to survive that situation. Her story really was one of survival, and I tell you, I know this is Joe's book, but my girl Zenobia was doing it. I'm telling you, I loved her stuff. So that is pretty much it. Like I said, this book, it was a great read. It's very fast. The author does not waste any time bogging you down with history and facts. Like, he really is telling a very fast-paced, clipped story. So if you want something that's not so heavy on, like the exposition of the war this time, the exposition, filled with history, then this is the great book for you. But anyway, that's it. I just want to share that with you guys, my little highlight of Where I'm Bound by Alan B. Ballard.